There has been people that is now coming forward. I'm gonna make my bones off of this migrant crisis. I'm telling you, I'm gonna get my $30 million based off of the migrant crisis. I got you, Queen V. I'm gonna read that shortly. There are people now coming forward that has been working for the federal government for a long time, and they're basically saying, "Listen, this migrant crisis and borders open is by design." I'm gonna bring y'all into the conversation, but first, let me give you an update of what's going on with the migrant crisis, so that you can understand exactly why we're having this conversation and why it's important. Over in New York, migrants are standing in line in order to try to get into a shelter, even though we've had this brutal winter, this brutal cold over the past week and a half, and it's just getting worse.
Some migrants have become so desperate to find housing, they're willing to sleep outside a reticketing center and the freezing temperatures to be first in line to reapply for shelter this morning.
About 20 degrees out there this morning. Pretty dangerous. Fox 5's Lizette Nunez is live outside of the enrollment center in Brooklyn with the very latest. Lizette, what are you seeing?
Dan, Tashani, well, lots of people here lined up outside of this particular office because they only accept walk-ins. That's why you have people standing out here in the bitter cold and also sleeping out here, all in the hopes of getting an ID NYC card by the end of the day.
I am cool. No,
as temperatures have dipped below freezing for days, migrants continue to line up to receive shelter and services. This was the site at St. Bridget's School in the East Village. This couple from Guinea showed up yesterday to get placed in a new shelter after the 30 days were up, but the reticketing offices had closed by the time they got there.
It's my first time to this situation in my life. I never have these difficulties.
Well, that's what happens when you come into a place and you don't know what you're getting yourself into. You should have stayed in your own country. That's what happens. You were seeking a better life, and we got this cold for you, boy. We got this nice cold winter waiting right on for you. You thought that you was going to get you a hotel room at the Roosevelt. But no, we got this cold concrete hanging out for you. And you know New York. The thing about New York is that New York is going through a process where they're preventing homeless people from being able to sleep on the usual places that they would normally sleep. So now, whereas you still got a large migrant population or a large homeless population hanging out in the subway and sleeping on trains and stuff like that, because they just hide theirs a little better than LA. But the reality is that the grates, the chairs, the public parks and all of that, it's designed to keep you uncomfortable, and you can't sleep on these places or on these grates or any of this stuff anymore, because by design, they don't want you to disrupt what they got going on with the tourism industry, because they largely dependent on tourism in order to fill holes and the gaps in the budget.
More migrants braved the cold at a city office in Brooklyn. Mutual Aid was at hand giving out coffee and hot soup as migrants waited in line for a chance to get an ID NYC card.
Entonces la única esperanza es hacer un poquito de centavos aquí, como me den el papel por un mes, por 3 meses.
Hey, imagine complaining in a different language in a country whose primary language you don't even know and understand, while you came up here in order to get something free. And now you sitting in the cold and the concrete trying to figure out how it is that you're going to survive. Imagine coming over here and complaining and holding somebody accountable for a place that you're not supposed to be in, and you came over here illegally in the first place. Imagine that.
Que Dios sea lo que sea, y en ese tiempo Dios me va a bendecir con un buen trabajo.
This woman from Honduras says she's 61 and is hoping to make some money. She says she's willing to do whatever, including sweeping the streets. But there is a misconception that an ID NYC card will automatically lead to a job. Migrants still need to be granted federal work authorization, which itself can be a long legal process. Immigrant advocates worry that misinformation, coupled with desperation, is unnecessarily causing migrants to put their health and lives at risk in the bitter cold.
So this office in Brooklyn opens at 9 this morning. So the people that
That's insane. Are you seeing this? Are y'all watching this? Are y'all looking at this? That's insane. I can't sleep. I can't sleep.
you're looking at right now, they have to be here outside for at least 4 more hours. Now, because of the cold temperatures, you're taking a look at people here sleeping on cardboard boxes and also placing pieces of wood between them and also the ground to kind of serve as a barrier and try to keep them warm during these really cold temperatures.
So while Eric Adams was in New York City, holding Los Angeles accountable for the conditions that Los Angeles have for their homeless population and for their migrant population, people are sleeping in sub-zero weather on cardboard trying to figure out how they're going to stay warm. And you was over there talking about send us all of your sick, your poor, your migrants and all of that. And now you cutting the budget and you messing up everything that we got going on. Listen, all of this could have been solved if we just had properly managed and not set expectations for people being able to walk over in here and do whatever they wanted to do when they wanted to do it. All of this could have been solved. But check this out, y'all. This is very, very interesting. A lot of y'all don't see this type of stuff because this may not necessarily be a part of your algorithm. But check this out. This was a hearing that was recently held, I believe yesterday. And this is very, very, very damning information.
I started my career in immigration enforcement in 1984 as a Border Patrol agent. I've worked for 6 presidents, up to Donald Trump. Every president I've ever worked for took some steps to secure the border because they understood you can't have strong national security if you don't have border security. But President Biden is the first president in the history of this nation that I know of who came in office and unsecured the border on purpose. And
he said on purpose. Let me rewind it for y'all because I don't want y'all to be misconstrued on exactly what's being communicated to you. He's the first president. He served under 6 presidents, including Trump. And Biden is the first president. This is the person that y'all voted for. I just want y'all to understand this. You had so many different options, and this is who you voted for. He's the first president since he's been working with immigration that purposely unsecured the border. This is somebody that worked specifically under 6 different presidents.
And even President and unsecured the border on purpose.
On purpose.
And even President Obama gave me the Presidential Rank Award, highest award available. Because what was I doing at the time? I was locating and deporting people that are in the country illegally.
He said President Obama gave him an award. This is how high up he's in and how much visibility he has and what his credentials are, so you guys can actually understand who's communicating to you.
So we went for the most secure border of my lifetime, and it's not just my opinion. I've done this for 34 years. Anybody can go to cbp.gov and look at the data. We handed this administration the most secure border in my lifetime.
He said Trump, despite the fact that he was against all odds and against as much opposition as you can possibly think of in your life, Trump gave Biden the most secure border in his lifetime. This is not his opinion. This is some data that you can go and look up according to him. He's telling you this. He's telling you out of his mouth that he received awards from Obama and that when the keys was handed over from person to person, from Trump over to Biden, that we had the most secure borders in his lifetime. This is what he's telling you, okay? This is what y'all fought against, and this is what you voted for. I just want to remind you of that.
And within months, we went from the most secure border to historic illegal immigration, numbers we've never seen before. And it's not because it's seasonal. It's not because of climate change. It's not because of Trump. This is by design.
If it's a lie, he told it. If it's a lie, he told it. He said literally, Tom Homan, he said, this is by design. This is not something that's a mistake. This is not an oversight. They didn't forget to go and secure the borders. They're not fighting back and forth with Texas. For whatever reason, this is by design. Now, you know what's going to happen, right? You know what's going to happen. Come election time, All of y'all gonna get distracted by some latest scandal or some latest thing. It's gonna be some police officer that's getting in trouble for busting in somebody's house and doing something wrong, and we all gonna get mad at it, and y'all gonna be protesting, and you're gonna be distracted, and then they basically gonna secure your vote again. Okay? We all know that this is happening. We know that it's coming. It's really just a matter of time. We just waiting on the execution. I'm trying to see what the play gonna be before it's gonna be it. But once I spot it, a boy right here on the Millionaire Morning Show, I'm gonna bring it to the front of the congregation, and he's telling you, listen, we had the most secure borders, and this is literally by design. Whatever's happening right now, they're doing it on purpose. They're not misunderstood. They're not trying to figure it out. It's on purpose.
We already heard about some of these people are coming because of economic reason or natural disasters. The bottom line is, when you claim asylum, you must be escaping fear and persecution from your home government because your race, religion, political affiliation, or membership in a particular social group. That is not the fact. If you look at immigration court data over the last 10 years, you'll see that nearly 9 out of 10 people who claim asylum at the border never get relief from U.S. courts that simply don't qualify. But they're coming and staying because of Biden's promises. I wrote an op-ed 6 months before the election. I said, President Biden becomes president, we'll lose the border, based on the promises he was making during the campaign. And he's kept those promises. Right now, we have record numbers of illegal aliens coming across the border. Catch and release is rampant. Right now, Secretary Mayorkas already said 85% of everybody coming to the border is being released in the country. They're not being detained. And why are they being detained? Because of two reasons. Number one, because he knows, like I do, that vast majority of these people will be ordered removed 5, 6, 7 years down the road, maybe 10. He also knows the Homeland Security Life Cycle Report says if you get an order removal and you're in an ICE bed, you get removed 99% of the time. But if you're not in detention, your chances of being removed are slim. If you're a family unit, it's about 6%. That's why they're releasing them. Thousands of empty ICE beds sitting there right now, already paid for by the taxpayer. They'd rather release them because they know the vast majority will lose their case and they'll be ordered removed, but if they're not in detention, they won't be removed. So this administration comes up with what they call lawful pathways, which I think are illegal, and I think they'll lose when the decision of the courts come out. The CBP One app, 95.8% are approved. Where's the case-by-case analysis that is supposed to be done for people for parole? It's not being done. It's a shell game. They move thousands to the port of entry so they can claim less illegal entries between the port of entries, but it's failed because November, December, we saw record amounts of crossings on the border, over 300,000 just in December. And people who say that the border is not in crisis, I tell you this, in 2020, the total encounters on the southwest border is 646,000. This year, 3.2 million, 5 times what we saw during.
So when you go back, because see, it's a lot of people in here that's going to act like they didn't vote for Biden, but I know that you did. Because you was a part of the movement. You was posting it. I seen y'all post on y'all Instagram. Y'all had the black image, the black out in order to support Black Lives Matter. And he didn't get elected by a ghost or a phantom. He still received tens of millions of votes and whatever. Whether you believe he stole it or not, that's irrelevant. When you go back and you look at your behavior and why you did what you did, similar to what we experienced with Brick Lady, when you go back and you look at why it is that you did what you did, do you look at yourself and are you happy and satisfied with your decision and you stand on that just out of pride, or do you regret your decision considering what it is that's happening to you in your neighborhoods today? That's all I want to know.
Last year, Trump administration. Court orders are years out, but this administration's counting on it. You overflow the system. It'll push these court dates back 7, 8 years. And what's going to happen? Mark my word. When they finally get order removal 7 years down the road, they'll have a USC child. They'll have 2 USC children. They'll get phone calls from, the director of ICE will get phone calls from the Hill saying, why'd you remove that person with 2 USC kids? Well, you didn't have 2 USC kids when he entered the country legally. So now that he has 2 USC kids, he's immune from the law. The court order means nothing. So
and that's exactly what happens.
Here's what I'm looking for. If for people who demand these people have a right to claim asylum, they have a right to due process. I agree. But due process doesn't mean anything if the final decision of the courts is not executed and people aren't removed. So
And so basically people come over here and they have children while they're here, which then makes their children an American citizen, and it prevents them from being able to be removed. And now at some point they become American citizens and they can say, well, I'm immigrated over here and I did really, really well, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Because the court system and the way that the legal system is set up to prevent and allow for them to continue to be here long enough to actually be able to become people that control and determine what's going to happen within our elections, that's going to happen within our economic system, filling up jobs, maybe even doing jobs that a lot of people don't want to do. And so when you say, well, why is it by design? It's because it's an agenda behind it. And I don't know who's behind the agenda. I don't know who's telling who to do what. But for us to sit here and ignore it and just to continue to vote the way that we vote, understanding that these people are bought and paid for and they doing stuff that's not in your best interest, is insane to me. And I just wish my people, and when I say my people, I'm talking about all people that's in the United States of America, not just black people. I wish my people would wake the hell up. Like, when y'all gonna wake up and just be like, hey, okay, look, you know what? We was running in the Victim Olympics. We were wrong. We did get it wrong, but I'm disgusted at this situation now. And so you ain't got to admit it to me. Take it to God. Go in your prayer closet and say, you know what, God, maybe we got this one wrong. And that wasn't really your voice that was telling me that this makes sense. That was the devil that was talking to me at the time, because I was already full of the devil and doing stuff I wasn't supposed to do. At what point are we going to say, you know what? We got that one wrong. Not Martin Luther King, not Malcolm X, not somebody that came before you. You got it wrong. You got it wrong, and you set your children up to fail by aligning yourself with identity politics and what people were saying around you instead of doing your own research. And maybe you didn't find the Millionaire Morning Show until after the election was over. Okay, I get it. But God, please don't make the same mistake twice. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. For real, for real.